Sometimes the First Amendment gets wrapped into the battle for the Second Amendment, and today we're discussing a major ruling about one of those times. The place, you guessed it, California, where else? The law, one that sought to effectively ban most forms of firearm advertising by creating a backdoor that if anything appeals reasonably to minors, it's probably illegal. And the court who struck this down as unconstitutional, California's own Ninth Circuit. The topics that we covered today, such as how the First Amendment works, as well as something called standards of scrutiny, all directly tie into the battle for the Second Amendment and Second Amendment related issues, which of course we're dealing with here today. Also, of course, don't think for a second that if this was found to be constitutional, either by the Ninth Circuit now or potentially by the U.S. Supreme Court next, that this won't migrate across the entire country at both the state and federal level. So even if you don't live in California, this video is still for you. So sit down, buckle up, let's get into it. So first, the law and what happened, then I'll break it down in English. So really quickly, the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So the First Amendment concerns itself with the protection of free speech and religion. But of course, today we're leaning more so on the speech unless you're a Mandalorian. It was passed as part of the Bill of Rights that constitutes the first 10 amendments adopted on December 15th, 1791, which also includes the Second Amendment. Now, what we're talking about specifically here today, and stick with me, this is going to be some big words that are not going to be very fun. California Business and Professions Code, specifically section 22949.80. And since that is a mouthful, I'm just going to be referring to it as the law or this law or any of that kind of stuff during the rest of this video. But just know that that's what I'm talking about. This law seeks to prohibit the advertising of any, quote, firearm-related product in a manner that is designed, intended, or reasonably appears to be attractive to minors. The case that we're talking about is the Junior Sports Magazines Incorporated versus Bonta, B-O-N-T-A. Now, writing for the three-judge panel, who ruled, by the way, unanimously, that means everyone, all three of them, against the California law, was a Republican-appointed South Korean-born judge named Kenneth Lee. Now, I will note that the same Judge Lee, back in 2020, also shot down California's ban on so-called large-capacity magazines, aka normal capacity magazines. A few juicy quotes from that opinion, since I just can't resist talking about it before we delve back into the First Amendment. Quote, California's near categorical ban of large capacity magazines infringes on the fundamental right to self-defense. It criminalizes the possession of half of all magazines in America today. It makes unlawful magazines that are commonly used in handguns by law-abiding citizens for self-defense. And it substantially burdens the core right of self-defense guaranteed to the people under the Second Amendment. It cannot stand, Judge Lee added. Okay, so back to the First Amendment, but again, just thank you for indulging me on that. That's the guy we're talking about here. The Ninth Circuit Court assumed that California's law regulates only commercial speech, since we're talking about regulating advertisements, and therefore intermediate scrutiny applies. Now, this is important, and stick with me again. I'm going to break this down for you. This is important because while ordinarily constitutional issues receive the highest level of scrutiny by the courts, namely something called strict scrutiny, as opposed to a lower form of burden, such as intermediate scrutiny, where we are right now, or the lowest level, which is something called rational basis. And this basically changes kind of the difficulty setting that the government has in order to get past to find a law or regulation as constitutional. So strict scrutiny is the highest form of scrutiny, with rational basis, which generally speaking merely requires that the government has a rational basis for doing whatever it is that it's doing, as the lowest. And of course, intermediate, you guessed it, it's intermediate, it's in between. I will explain why this is intermediate scrutiny when we're talking about a First Amendment case a little later on. So in applying intermediate scrutiny, the court first concluded that since California allows minors under supervision to use and possess firearms for hunting and other lawful purposes, the law on its face regulates speech that concerns various lawful activities and is not misleading. Next, the court ruled that the law does not directly and materially advance California's substantial interests in reducing gun violence and the unlawful use of firearms by minors. There was, as the court pointed out in the decision, zero evidence in the record that a minor in California has ever unlawfully bought a gun, let alone establishing that such a sale occurred because of an ad like the type that this law was seeking to regulate. Finally, and again, we're getting through the technical stuff, the panel held that the law was more extensive than it was necessary because it also regulated and in effect made illegal truthful ads about the lawful use of firearms for adults and minors all at the same time. Remember, the law applies to any ad that could reasonably appear attractive to a minor. Now, speaking for a moment as someone who used to be a minor, albeit increasingly in the rearview mirror of life, I can tell you that virtually all advertising is, of course, more interesting back then compared to now as an adult. You see, media companies and advertising companies, they know this. And it's one of the many reasons why they market much more to a younger audience, say people who are younger than however old it is the calendar says I am right now. Quickly moving on. Okay, so let's get a little bit nerdy because I think you're going to find this interesting. And usually I ask the audience if you want me to go into the tangents, and the comment section says, yeah, why are you asking? Okay, so I'm just going to take the liberty of saying, yeah, you're probably going to say yes, and we're just going to do it. Let me know how this works out for you in the comment section. So we discussed here and in other videos that laws that implicate a constitutional right ordinarily get the highest level of scrutiny. That's, again, as a reminder, strict scrutiny. This builds the highest wall around the Constitution to protect it from those in government. But today, we're talking about intermediate scrutiny and free speech. Why? Well, it's because we're talking about commercial speech as opposed to another form of speech. I'm not asking for you to necessarily agree with this, but sometimes commercial speech has been given a lower standard of protection by the courts since, in the court's view, the First Amendment is less about protecting someone's ability to commercially advertise and to sell a product than it is about protecting your rights to speak, most especially about politics or religion. Under intermediate scrutiny, the government must show that the law is, quote, narrowly drawn, not necessarily the least restrictive means available, in order to advance a, quote, substantial, end quote, governmental interest. We get that from the U.S. Supreme Court case in 1980 referred to as Central Hudson. While we're on this topic, by the way, and again, at the risk of getting even further lost in the weeds, but once more, taking those liberties that the comments section keeps giving me. Yes, I do read the comments. Let me know what you think. I want to throw this in there since, again, we rarely find ourselves talking about the First Amendment. While commercial speech restrictions typically receive intermediate scrutiny, a subset of commercial disclosure requirements may receive an even less demanding standard of review. Common examples of what I'm talking about to make sure that we're all tracking together are those fine prints that you see in advertisements for medications, medical devices, things like that. In other words, it is a lot easier for the government to compel that type of disclosure stuff in the context of commercial advertising. Think about everything to do with cigarette advertising is another thing. There's also a 4-factor test that I will skip for this video, but if you are really a nerd for compelled commercial speech laws and disclosures, be sure to check it out. I put it in the description box for you below. So beyond the exciting world of commercial speech, what else do we have on the First Amendment while we're here? Well, there's generally 5 types of speech that can be governmentally regulated without being a violation of the First Amendment, provided that the regulation is properly done. In other words, it can't be too widely tailored. It has to be narrowly tailored to accomplish a particular end. In other words, when I'm talking about this, we're talking about things that the courts have upheld for you and me to be worried about. And I'm not editorializing this. I'm just trying to educate on this. These categories include fighting words, incitement to riot, hate speech, obscenity, and nude dancing. Yes, I can't believe I'm talking about nude dancing. Fighting words, we're talking about words that have been variously defined as those which their very utterance inflict injury or tend to incite an immediate breach of the peace. Statutes that prohibit fighting words and incitement to riot must be narrowly drafted to include only speech that incites imminent unlawful action, not future harm or some kind of general advocacy. Statutes that prohibit hate speech must again be narrowly tailored and narrowly drafted to include only speech that is supported by the intent to intimidate. Statutes that prohibit obscenity must target speech that appeals to the, ready for this word, prurient, P-R-U-R-I-E-N-T. That's what the court used. Blame them for the $5 word, which is basically defined, because I had to Google that to be honest. We're talking about things that depicts sexual conduct in a patently offensive way and has little or no literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. Nude dancing, can't believe I'm about to say this, but since we're talking about free speech, nude dancing can be regulated as long as the regulation is reasonable, such as, this is what the law is, guys, requiring dancers to wear pasties and perhaps a G-string. So guys, we're covering something a little bit different, but it's all still super relevant. So stick around for my final analysis. But before you do, of course, please hit that like button. Let me know what you think about all this. Should commercial speech get intermediate or strict scrutiny, rational basis, all that kind of stuff? I'll see you in the comments section. Now to my breakdown, final thoughts, and of course, the quote of the day. Bringing this back to California. So as I set this up earlier on, look, we have in our country, in our union, 50 different laboratories of democracy. And what I mean by that is different states get to experiment with how they want to set up and organize their society. Now, there are limits and checks on that as defined by the Constitution and, of course, the amendments incorporated through the 14th Amendment. And there are ongoing checks on that from the courts and so forth. But if we obviously see something that gets found to be constitutional, don't think for a second that folks at both the federal level and in other states won't immediately seize on that and hit the copy-paste button, because it's happened before and it will happen again, which is the reason why all these things that may be happening in states that you don't live in, this is directly relevant to you and me. I'm a Wisconsin guy. I don't live in California, but don't think for a second that I'm not watching what's coming out of California, because it's California today, Wisconsin tomorrow. Or maybe California today, DC tomorrow. And you can swap in any number of other states, whether New Mexico, Illinois, Maryland, Rhode Island, New York, New Jersey, Hawaii, and the list goes on of all these places that will continuously chunk out and churn out this kind of legislative progressivism. And I don't mean that in a political way, just as far as taking incremental shots and stabs to seeing what will work, what won't work, like throwing noodles or spaghetti up against the wall and let's just see what sticks. So that's the reason why this is relevant and the reason why I'm covering it and I find it to be interesting, because ultimately all this flows downstream. Our quote of the day comes from Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy. Quote, "The right to think is the beginning of freedom, and speech must be protected from the government because speech is the beginning of thought." End quote. And on that thought, I hope you hit the like button. I hope to see you in the comments section, and I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks and take care. Thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed this one, please feel free to check out some of our other great content, and we'll see you in the next one.